My name is Edward Kwabi. Now, the Attorney General has directed striking state attorneys to resume work or lose their October pay. Now, the directive was based on an order issued by the National Labour Commission over the ongoing strike by the attorneys. The state attorneys declared the strike on Thursday over government's inability to resolve some outstanding issues relating to their salaries. Now, the state attorneys are demanding a sustainable pension scheme, free official vehicles, research and housing allowances. Again, the association is asking for free health payments, free health care, payment of outstanding clothing and fuel allowances. We're trying the lines to get in touch with the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Haruna Idrisu, to respond to this very directive from the Justice Ministry. But before then, let's do some stories. Now, the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana, JUSAC, has suspended its intended strike and given government another 6 working days to resolve its grievances. JUSAC is demanding the implementation of its consolidated salaries and other allowances which the Judicial Council approved 4 years ago.
Leadership of JUSAC says it has suspended its intended strike following government's submission of a document on the consolidated salaries to the Judicial Council to study. It indicated it has identified some anomalies with regard to calculating how much members should receive. Again, JUSAC said it rejected a document which was submitted by the Chief of Staff because it failed to explain when members will receive their consolidated salaries. It has therefore given government 6 working days to resolve the anomalies or risk industrial unrest.
Government has unilaterally reduced the figures. Government has failed to correct the anomalies that existed in our pay structure, and that is not acceptable. The document is given to the Judicial Council to look at it for the anomalies to be corrected so that we can continue from there. So we look forward that this will be done between now and the end of the month.
However, some members were dissatisfied by the decision of the national leadership not to go on strike. But the president, Alex Nate, was emphatic. The association will not succumb to any more promises after the 6 working days.
It is only fair to think that obviously documents that pertain to our condition when submitted could contain some anomalies. So we take it that there are omissions on the part of those who work on the document.
Still stay on the labor front. Now, nurses at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital have threatened to embark on strike from Monday, October 24, over government's failure to provide the facility with basic logistics required. Now, according to the nurses, lack of medication for patients has rendered staff vulnerable to physical attacks from patients.
17-year-old Nina, as we have decided to call her, was admitted at the hospital 3 months ago with schizoaffective condition, a condition a person experiences a combination of hallucinations, mood disorder symptoms such as mania or depression. Nina's condition was managed, but due to the lack of medication, her condition is worsening. But nurses don't know what to do next.
For the past 2 weeks now, she's gone back to her old self, and as you can see, she has started rolling again on the floor, and it's evident by the wound at the back of the head, and that has subsequently affected the ear, and it's discharging. And even this, there's nothing we can do for her because we don't have the medication.
The situation at the special ward is worse.
2 patients were fighting among themselves, so one pushed the other one against the wall, and we have to call more people to put them in the seclusion. We should have sedated them before putting them there. But because the medications are not available, you have to improvise.
Inmates now receive medication once instead of twice a day. This is a special ward of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. The bed capacity here is 80, but as we speak now, there are 151 inmates in here.
We used to give them only in the evening, so that in the night nurses are not as much as the day nurses. So if there's aggression in the night, we don't know what to do. That's why sometimes we escape the morning dose and give it in the evening.
So this is one of the inmates who was aggressive last night because there was no medication for him. He couldn't sleep and he was aggressive. So they have to put him here in the seclusion room. The Accra Psychiatric Hospital has been saddled with shortage of food, medicines and other basic essentials required to deliver quality mental health care, compelling authorities to decline OPD services and admissions.
Let's go back to our earlier headline story. Now, the Attorney General has directed striking state attorneys to resume work or lose their pay for October. The directive was based on an order issued by the National Labour Commission over the ongoing strike by the attorneys. Now, the state attorneys declared a strike on Thursday over government's inability to resolve some outstanding issues relating to their salaries. Now, the state attorneys are demanding a sustainable pension scheme, free vehicle, research and housing allowances. Again, the association is asking for free health care, payment of outstanding clothing and fuel allowances. Let's get on to the phone lines and speak to labor expert Kofi Davor, who is joining us right now via phone. Good evening, sir, and thanks for your time on News at 10.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
What do you make of this directive by the Attorney General? Isn't this an attempt to gag the labor?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I have a little problem with the stand taken by brothers and sisters in the Attorney General's department. Because, you see, when you look at the catalog of demands they are making, they are no long-term demands. There are things they don't have. There are things they are asking for. And I don't doubt the fact that they deserve those things. But you see, one of the key elements of labor relations is to give the other side time to adjust and be able to provide for the things that you're asking for. If you're asking for all these things which you did not have, and you are saying that it should be done, and you give a date, then you are not giving room for negotiations to take place. So it's not as if once you make a demand, it has to be honored. Then it amounts to a blackmail. It amounts to an armed robber putting a gun at your head and saying that whatever I've asked for to me. I don't think in labor relations that's what we are talking about. So whilst I do not doubt, I don't have any iota of doubt about the fact that they deserve what they are asking for, I think that they must enter into negotiation rather than give ultimatum to their employers.
That is where I was just getting to. Don't you think these demands are legitimate and they are aimed at incentivizing them? Mr. Davor, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, the fact that the demands are legitimate does not mean you can use any other method to ask for it. And the point I'm making is that while the demands are legitimate, they must be subjected to negotiation. And if you are not going to subject it to negotiations, but you are just going to use other means which could amount to blackmail, then I'm sorry, I have a little problem with the position.
And you think this process is amounting to blackmail?
That's what I mean. Because why am I saying so? I'm saying so because people think that this is the time to make demands on government because it's an election year. I think it's unfair. Okay, if it's an agreement which has been made and government is failing to honor its side of the bargain, then to some extent, that action could be justified. But these are new demands that you are making. And my view is that they are supposed to be subjected to some negotiations. You give the other side the right comment on it, the right to hear you. And then failure negotiations break down, then you can employ other means provided for by law. But you don't make demands immediately and say that if you don't meet those demands, these are the actions I'm going to take. So honestly, I think in my view, government has been lenient in the stand it has taken.
Mr. Davor, they have also argued that some of these demands are demands that were made over 4 years ago or negotiated over 4 years ago, are waiting implementation, and they think that it is overdue for them to receive some of these allowances. For example, they are asking for vehicle allowances, research and housing allowances. And don't you think these demands are legitimate?
I have not declared any of the demands illegitimate. But if they have been negotiated and government is supposed to on the side of the bargain, I've said that earlier on, then there's the justification for the position they have taken. You understand? But if there are demands that are being made and which are subject to negotiations between the parties, then I have a little problem with the stand they have taken. Distinguish the two. If you are now making the demand, then give the other side the opportunity to respond to your demand. If you have negotiated the demands already and you have a conclusion, and the only thing remaining is for government to honor its side of the bargain, and it is not honoring it, then of course you have every right to put pressure on government to implement its side of the bargain. If that is the case, then there could be some legitimacy to the action that they are taking. But if there are new demands they are making, but they have not negotiated it, and they are subject to negotiations, then now I would have a difficulty with the stand they have taken.
Quite apart from this state attorneys issue, let's move into the labor realm. Now, let's take a look at those are the Metro Services of Ghana, and including the teacher trainees and nursing trainees allowances that they've raised and all that. Does it look like Labour is trying to take advantage of government, especially considering the time that we are in an election year?
Of course, every worker will want to hit the nail while it is hot. So I don't think they will be wrong in timing the actions around this election year when they know that these are very difficult and delicate times for politicians. So every worker will take advantage of the timing and act accordingly. But my point is the national interest is important, and they must balance their demand with their national interest. On this particular issue, on this particular question, I will not have a clear-cut answer to give, except that to say that, look, around this time, they'll take advantage of the timing and make their demand. Because the balance of power is in their favor. Government is desperate to have elections held, and this is the time they think that it can be paid. But I think the key thing is for government also to respond and engage them, even if they cannot pay, have a discussion and have a certain. After all, President Kofi agreed on the single spine with them and left. So government can hold discussion. It doesn't matter who is in power. Once an agreement has been reached, they'll be able to implement it. So the important thing is for government to make itself available and engage these workers so that they can arrive at a certain understanding. And understanding does not necessarily mean they would have to cough the money. But understanding means that you've respected their views, their demands, and you recognize the fact that it's a demand that can be discussed. Once that happens, I think that you can arrive at a conclusion.
We're grateful for your time tonight on News at 10. Kofi Davor is a labor expert. He's been helping us delve into this very issue. That's it for the big one.